What if the universe isn't made of atoms, but of information? What if everything you can see, touch and feel is running on something deeper? Something like code. This is not a new idea. Scientists are debating it right now. Physicists are publishing papers on it. Elon Musk, one of the most technically sophisticated minds on the planet, openly believes the odds that we're living in base reality are astronomically low. But here's what nobody is talking about. The ancient world already knew, not as a theory, not as a hypothesis, as direct experience. And the deeper you look, the more the threads connect. Let's start with a single Sanskrit word that changes everything. Maya. Most people translate it as illusion, but that translation is lazy, and it misses the point entirely. A more precise translation of Maya is that which is measurable, that which can be perceived, experienced, and named. Maya is not a lie. It's a projection, a rendered layer of reality sitting on top of something far deeper. In Vedantic philosophy, the philosophical backbone of Hinduism, Maya is the cosmic veil. It's the reason we experience separation, the reason we feel like individual beings moving through a solid world of objects and time. But according to this tradition, that experience is constructed, generated, run on top of a substrate that is pure, undivided, infinite consciousness. They called that substrate Brahman, not a god with a face, not a being with emotions, the absolute ground of existence itself, the source, the thing from which everything is rendered, the thing that simulation theorists today would call base reality. Maya is the simulation. Brahman is what's running it. And this wasn't written last year. This was understood thousands of years ago. So who maintains this projected reality? Who keeps Maya running? Vishnu. In Hindu cosmology, Vishnu is the preserver of the universe. He rests on the cosmic serpent, Ananta Shesha, floating in an infinite ocean of pure consciousness. From his navel grows a lotus containing Brahma, the creator of the physical world. Every time the universe ends, Vishnu sleeps. Every time it begins, he wakes. The cosmos expands, runs its full cycle, collapses back into him and reboots. A loop, a recursive process, running endlessly. Vishnu doesn't create the simulation from scratch each time. He sustains it. He is the process that keeps Maya coherent. And one of his most important roles is descending into Maya himself, taking form within the simulation to restore balance when it drifts too far from truth. These descents are called avatars. The word avatar, the same word we now use for a digital representation of yourself inside a virtual world, it comes from Sanskrit. It meant a god entering the rendered layer. That's not a coincidence. That's a concept so accurate, it survived intact into the digital age. But no deity maps more perfectly onto simulation theory than Shiva. Shiva is the destroyer, but not in the violent, chaotic sense. In Hindu metaphysics, destruction is necessary for renewal. You can't run a process without clearing old memory. You can't write clean code on a corrupted drive. Shiva destroys so that Vishnu can preserve, and Brahma can create again. The cycle continues. Maya keeps running. But here's what separates Shiva from everything else in this framework. Shiva is not in Maya. He is Mahakala, the great time, the one who exists outside of the simulated layer entirely, while Vishnu operates within the projection. Shiva sits beyond it. He watches the process run. He is the consciousness that remains when Maya dissolves. His deepest form is the Nataraja, the cosmic dancer. In this image, Shiva dances the universe into and out of existence. His upper right hand holds a drum, the pulse of creation, information being generated. His upper left hand holds fire, dissolution, the clearing of the system. He dances inside a ring of fire, representing the endless cosmic cycle. And beneath his dancing foot is a figure representing the ego, the illusion of separate self, the core delusion that Maya creates. The CERN Particle Physics Laboratory, the most advanced physics facility on Earth, has a bronze statue of Nataraja at its entrance. They chose it deliberately because physicists working at the edge of reality recognized something. What Shiva represents and what they were uncovering in particle physics were pointing at the same underlying truth. Reality is a process, and something exists outside of it, watching it run. Now we need to talk about something that cuts across neuroscience, ancient mysticism, and simulation theory all at once. DMT, dimethyltryptamine. It's a molecule produced naturally inside the human body. It exists in hundreds of plants, and when experienced in concentrated form, it consistently produces something that nobody has fully explained. Experiences so structured and so repeatable across different people, different cultures, and different centuries, that calling them random hallucinations simply doesn't hold up. People don't just see lights or colors. They encounter entities, beings that feel more real than waking life. Beings that seem to know the person entering the experience as if they've been waiting. Beings that communicate not through words, but through direct transmission of information, bypassing language entirely. And they encounter geometry, not random geometry, structured, recursive, purposeful geometry. Simple systems that feel functional, not decorative. Patterns that seem to carry operational meaning. Here's where it connects directly to Maya. The Vedantic tradition says that in deep states of meditation, when the mind becomes still enough, the veil of Maya begins to thin. The rendered layer starts to become transparent. What lies beneath, it begins to show through. DMT appears to be a biochemical key to that same thinking. And what people find beneath the rendering isn't chaos. It's structure. It's order. It's what some researchers are now describing as something that looks uncomfortably like source code. Not metaphorically, literally, structured, rule-governed, repeating simple systems that appear to be the substrate from which the experienced world is being generated. Maya, experienced from the inside, looks like reality. Experienced from the outside, it looks like code. This idea that there are structured symbol systems operating beneath the surface of our reality connects to something happening in a completely different field. UAP research. In congressional testimony, military pilot accounts, and intelligence disclosures, one detail keeps appearing that almost nobody talks about: unknown symbols. Craft that behave in ways that violate unknown physics. bearing markings that match no human language, no technical notation, no writing symbol, no writing system from any culture on Earth. Symbols on craft interiors, symbols reported by witnesses during close encounters. What if those symbols aren't labels or decorations? What if they function the way machine code functions? Instructions operating at a layer beneath physical law rather than within it. If a consciousness or civilization had learned to interact with Maya directly, not from inside the projection, but from the substrate level, their technology wouldn't look like ours. It wouldn't need propulsion in the way we understand it. It wouldn't be constrained by the laws of physics as we experience them, because it would be operating at the layer where those laws are written. It would look like magic, and the symbols controlling it would look like the recursive structured geometric code that DMT experiencers have been describing for decades, and that ancient mystics have been drawing on temple walls for millennia. The concept of Maya, a projected reality arising from a deeper source of consciousness, is not unique to Hinduism. Strip every major spiritual tradition to its core, and you find the same architecture. Buddhism teaches anatta, no fixed self. What we experience as I is a constructed process, not a fundamental entity. The entire project of Buddhist practice is to see through the constructed nature of experience, to perceive Maya for what it is. Christianity opens with logos. In the beginning was the Word. The Greek word logos means logic, reason, structured information. The universe was spoken into existence, generated through language, through code. And at the center of Christian mysticism is the idea that the divine is not out there, it is within. The kingdom of God is within you. Kabbalah teaches that the universe was created through the Hebrew letters, that the alphabet itself is generative, that meaning and matter arise from the same source. The Sephirot describe layered emanations of reality descending from pure undivided light into dense material existence, a rendering pipeline. Sufism teaches Wadat al-Wuhud, the unity of all existence. What we experience as separate objects and beings is the appearance of multiplicity within a single underlying reality. The diversity of Maya masking the singularity of Brahman. Different word, same claim. Indigenous shamanistic traditions across the Americas, Africa, and Oceania describe reality as multi-layered, with skilled practitioners able to move between layers, interact with beings in non-physical dimensions, and receive information inaccessible to ordinary consciousness. The surface content differs. The structural claim is identical. There is a source layer. It contains awareness and beings. It can be accessed. And when it is, everything changes. Now let's bring this into the present. Elon Musk has said publicly, more than once, that he believes the probability we are not in a simulation is near zero. This matters because of who is saying it. This isn't a philosopher speculating from an armchair. This is the person who built the most advanced private rocket company in human history. Someone whose daily work requires mastery of orbital mechanics, thermodynamics, propulsion physics, and materials science. Someone who spent more time thinking about the hard physical constraints of reality than almost anyone alive. And his conclusion from that vantage point is this is probably not base reality. He's not alone among people who have looked deeply into the mathematics. Quantum physicist James Gates discovered what appears to be error-correcting codes embedded in the equations of supersymmetry. The same type of code used to ensure accurate data transmission in computer browsers. Not a metaphor. When scientists dig deep enough into the equations governing reality, they find structures that look like they were designed to prevent computational errors. Brahman, running quality control on Maya. Physics has shifted before, completely and without warning. Newtonian mechanics seemed final until Einstein. Relativity seemed complete until quantum mechanics arrived and broke everything. And today, quantum mechanics and general relativity, the two most successful theories in scientific history, fundamentally cannot be reconciled at the smallest scales of reality. Something is missing. Dark matter and dark energy together make up roughly 95% of the universe and remain completely unexplained. The observer effect in quantum mechanics, where particles exist in superposition until measured, still has no agreed-upon explanation after a century of debate. What if the next revolution in physics isn't a new particle? What if it requires a new ontology, a new understanding of what reality fundamentally is? Physicist John Archibald Wheeler proposed exactly this. He called it "it from bit," the idea that every physical thing derives its existence from information. Binary yes-no answers at the base of everything. Information first, matter second. If that's true, the strangest behaviors in quantum physics stop being mysteries. A particle existing in multiple states until observed. Of course, it hasn't been rendered yet. Entangled particles communicating instantly from any distance. Of course, they share a data state, not a physical location. The universe only producing a definite answer when a measurement is made. Of course, that's how a system responds to a query. The simulation framework doesn't just accommodate these anomalies, it predicts them. So let's bring everything home. Thousands of years ago, Indian sages described a universe projected from pure consciousness, Maya, maintained by Vishnu, dissolved and renewed by Shiva, emanating from Brahman. They described a veil over reality that makes the constructed appear solid. They described beings that exist outside that veil, and they described specific practices, meditation, breath work, certain states of consciousness that allow awareness to slip beneath the rendering layer and perceive what's actually there. Today, people who encounter DMT consistently report what those sages described: entities waiting beyond the veil, structured symbol systems that feel like the underlying code of experience, or reality beneath reality that is more real than what we normally call real. UAP witnesses are documenting technology that behaves as though it operates at the same substrate level, bearing symbols that match nothing in human history, moving in ways our physics can't account for. Physicists are finding error-correcting code in the equations of the universe. Elon Musk, who builds rockets for a living, says that we're almost certainly in a simulation. And every spiritual tradition on Earth, when you strip away the cultural clothing, says the same thing. This is not the deepest reality. There is a source, and you are not separate from it. Shiva doesn't just destroy worlds. He dances them out of existence, so they can be born again. Fresh, clean, running on truth instead of accumulation. Maybe death is a process reset. Maybe suffering is what happens when a character inside Maya mistakes the rendering for the source. Maybe enlightenment is simply what the tradition always said it was. The lifting of the veil. A permission level increase. Seeing Maya for what it is, without fear, without confusion. The ancient mystics didn't have the word simulation. They didn't have servers, or code, or quantum computers. They had direct experience. And what they found, in the deepest states of stillness that human consciousness has ever touched, was not darkness. It was awareness. It was light. It was something that felt completely and unmistakably like coming home. Maybe that's where we've been, all along.